The Yaroslavl oil refinery is on fire. It is among the top 5 largest refineries by processing volume. Its capacity is about 15 million tons of oil per year. The enterprise produces gasoline, diesel, aviation kerosene, and jet fuel. This refinery supplies fuel to the central regions, in particular to the entire Moscow metropolitan area, and also supports the military logistics of the Russian occupation army. Against the backdrop of the attack, traffic was restricted on a section of the M8 highway in the direction of Moscow. Furious drones also visited the Saratov region. There, the Engels 2 airfield, where Russian strategic bombers are based, came under fire. And it is from there that Tu-95 and Tu-160 aircraft regularly take off for missile strikes on Ukraine. Residents of Engels are writing on social media about explosions and a large number of drones over the city.
The raid has taken flight. There's definitely going to be an explosion now. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
For the second day in a row, the Kyiv region is under Russian strikes. The occupiers are hitting civilian objects, residential buildings, cars, warehouse premises, and production facilities, and rescuers are working under the constant threat of repeated attacks. An hour after the first strike, the Russian occupiers hit again at the rescuers who were extinguishing a Nova Pochta sorting center in Sviatopetrivske, in the Bilohorodka community near Kyiv. The emergency service workers managed to take cover in a safe place. This was reported by the Bilohorodka village head, Anton Ovsienko. In addition to the warehouses, a nearby production facility was also damaged. As of now, there is significant smoke at the scene. And the head of Bilohorodka is asking residents of the surrounding villages to close their windows and not go outside unless absolutely necessary. In total, 1 person is currently known to have died in the Kyiv region, and 2 others have shrapnel wounds. 14 warehouse facilities, 16 private houses, and 3 apartment buildings were also damaged. Destruction has been recorded in 5 districts: Fastiv, Borispil, Vyshhorod, Brovary, and Bucha. This was reported by Timur Tkachenko, head of the Kyiv Regional Military Administration. What do you think is the main goal of this continuous attack? Share your thoughts in the comments under this broadcast. Don't forget to support us with likes. The TSN broadcast continues. And in Vyshneve, a city right next to Kyiv, an enemy drone hit a residential area. Due to the Russian strike, cars caught fire in a parking lot. More than 15 cars burned to the ground, and windows were blown out in the nearby high-rise buildings. The fire has already been extinguished. There are no casualties. Russia launched 164 drones at Ukraine last night. Half of them are jet-powered, and also Gerbera and decoy drones of the Parodia type. They are launched to exhaust our air defense. 137 drones were shot down in the north, south, east, and center of the country. Hits were recorded in 16 locations, and falling debris from shot-down drones was reported in 4 locations. The deadly iron flew at us from the Russian cities of Orel, Bryansk, Milerovo, and the temporarily occupied Donetsk and Crimea. In the morning, the Russians attacked Zaporizhzhia twice with Shahed drones. The first drone hit behind a construction hypermarket. Afterwards, another one struck directly at the building. A fire broke out over an area of about 2,000 square meters. Currently, 4 people are known to be injured. This is the 3rd and final hypermarket in Zaporizhzhia that the Russians have destroyed this summer. And the day before, in the regional center, the Russians struck a civilian car with a drone. There are 2 victims. In the village of Hrihorivka, the invaders killed an elderly woman with an FPV drone. It was also a restless morning in Kherson. A man was wounded by drones in the city center. He managed to get to the hospital, but he could not be saved. An elderly couple in their home and a driver whom the Russians targeted with a drone were also injured. In the evening, the enemy attacked Sumy in the Kharkiv region twice. 1 person died and 2 were injured, including a 10-year-old girl. In Izium, 6 residents were injured, including another 10-year-old child. In the village of Enerhetikiv, the occupiers damaged an ambulance. In the evening, Russian aviation also attacked Sumy twice. Fires broke out. A man in a truck died. Emergency workers rescued 2 people from under the rubble of a destroyed private house. In total, 7 city residents were injured. 4 more people, including a child, were injured in the village of Velika Chernekshchina. And in the Seredina Buda community, a Russian drone crashed into a house and killed a woman. The Russians attacked the Zhytomyr region with drones. A fire broke out at one of the enterprises. 4 trucks with 3 semi-trailers were on fire. Rescuers extinguished everything. Kherson is without electricity and heat. The authorities are advising residents of the regional center to leave because in winter the city will most likely be engulfed by cold and darkness. After all, for several nights, the Russians have been purposefully dropping KBs, guided aerial bombs, on the Kherson thermal power plant, the only source of heat supply for the city's residents. After the last strike, all the generating equipment that remained at the station was destroyed. The head of the Kherson Regional Military Administration asked residents to relocate to safer regions. This applies especially to families with children and the elderly. Officials promised to help with evacuation, transportation, and resettlement.
We can no longer count on the thermal power plant or other critical infrastructure facilities operating as usual this winter. The security situation in Kherson is extremely difficult. The enemy is intensifying attacks on the region's critical infrastructure every day. Therefore, we must be honest and understand. Kherson may be left without electricity and heat, not for hours, not for days, but for a long time.
A trio of enemy drones filled the sky over Zaporizhzhia. In July alone, the Russians directed 1,000 FPV drones at the city. They are striking transport, gas stations, and high-rise buildings. To protect people, the military is using electronic warfare, hunting down Russian pilots, and building up anti-drone defenses. TSN correspondent Daria Nazarova visited the testing of new, stronger nets for anti-drone tunnels and is ready to tell us more.
This summer has become a real test for the people of Zaporizhzhia. Almost daily attacks from aviation and in the intervals, strikes by FPV drones on civilians. In June alone, Russian FPV drones attacked Zaporizhzhia 120 times. Some flew on their own, others were carried by enemy Molnya and Shahed drones.
The enemy has started using even more FPV drones. It, as mentioned earlier, has directed more crews to our TOT, the Zaporizhzhia region. But for this, there is electronic warfare, which is performing very well. Some drones fly on digital video, some fly on fiber optics. They simply do not show up in our systems at all.
In July, the number of drones reached almost 1,000, and in August, the attacks became even more frequent. The military from the Eyes Everywhere group warns the townspeople about the danger. They intercept the video feed from enemy drones and know exactly where and how the Russian junk is flying.
We recorded most of the drones. We documented several direct hits on public buses. There were also many concerning cases when they flew directly over residential homes, clearly looking for some of their, specific targets.
Enemy drones are intercepted and shot down, but the surest way to stop the drone terror, the soldiers say, is to kill those who launch them.
We are working directly on the pilots who are operating against the city of Zaporizhzhia. There were recent cases where we managed to hit several crews right at the launch sites, along with the drones, along with all the equipment. The positions of the enemy crews that were terrorizing the city itself, that is the Rubicon crew, they were destroyed. The enemy could not attack Zaporizhzhia because there was no manpower to launch these drones.
They are also working on protection by installing anti-drone nets over the streets.
Today we are building anti-drone paths in 3 stages. The first is on state importance roads, on local importance roads, and directly in the city of Zaporizhzhia on municipal roads.
To protect people not only from FPVs but also from Russian Molnya drones, which can carry up to 10 kilograms of explosives, new nylon nets are being tested in Zaporizhzhia. In some places they are installed in several layers. Experiments have proven that these nets, unlike regular plastic ones, are twice as strong, absorb impact energy better, and withstand harsh weather conditions.
They were actually tested using our specialized drones, and they were equipped with a powerful shaped charge for the impact. The conclusion is that the net works, and it helps because, let's say, it's better when the net stops it and the charge goes off a little further from the vehicle.
Testing will continue at experimental sites, according to some military personnel. By the end of the year, more than 100 kilometers of anti-drone protection should appear in Zaporizhzhia and on its approaches. Almost 50% of the work has already been completed.
The city of Zaporizhzhia has already partially financed this work. The road service will soon receive funds, a little less than 100 million hryvnias, for state importance roads. As for local roads, we have allocated the first tranche of funds from the local and regional budgets, but we have also submitted an application for 200 million hryvnias in order to receive funds from the state budget.
First of all, anti-drone tunnels are being built in the Kosmichesky and Shevchenkivsky districts of the city, which suffer the most from Russian FPV drones. Protection against drones is also being installed on bridges. Daria Nazarova, Andrei Hopovka, Zaporizhzhia, TSN 1+1.
Trilateral negotiations in Chisinau. The president of Ukraine met with the leaders of Romania and Moldova. The focus of the discussion was on cooperation in the energy, agricultural and security sectors. Against the backdrop of intensifying attacks in the Black Sea, it is Moldova and Romania that play an important role in the logistics of Ukrainian grain. Zelensky thanked the partners for this. He emphasized that it is important for the export solidarity routes in our region to operate at full capacity. Kyiv is also ready to support the development of Moldova's and Romania's security capabilities. The countries are currently also facing drone crashes. By the way, the president of Moldova previously linked this to an insufficient number of air defense systems in Ukraine. The parties also discussed the issue of European integration. Chisinau and Kyiv are effectively moving towards EU membership together. The president of Romania noted that his country will continue to further develop bilateral relations in the areas of economy, energy, infrastructure projects, education, and the protection of national minorities. The leaders' meeting took place on the 35th anniversary of Moldova's independence. King Harald V of Norway has died. He spent the last week of his life in the hospital where he was being treated for a rare blood disease, hemolytic anemia. Before his death, he was visited by relatives, members of the royal family. And today at 7:30 a.m., he peacefully passed away. Harald was the first king of Norway to be born in the country in the last 600 years. He modernized the monarchy in accordance with the realities of today. At the same time, he remained a figure who united the nation. Harald remained on the throne for 35 years and was the oldest head of state in Europe. He was 89 years old. Harald V is survived by his only son and heir, Crown Prince Haakon. And returning to the topic of air raid alerts, in the capital they are already breaking all records, not in the number of Shaheds, but in duration. Over the past day, Kyiv has already experienced about 24 alerts. A transport collapse has formed on the roads as it is impossible to get to the left bank during attacks by metro or public transport. The evening before, many Kyiv residents were forced to walk across the bridges over the Dnieper, and at the central railway station, train delays are lasting from a few hours to 15. Due to constant air raid alerts, locomotives are being stopped on the approaches to the city. So please keep this in mind when planning your trips and affairs. You can check the updated train schedule on the Ukrzaliznytsia website or in their mobile app. By the way, Kyiv experienced its previous record of 12 air raid alerts in a row back at the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion on March 1st, 2022. So the change in train traffic is currently noticeable in all regions of Ukraine. Has this affected you personally? Share your experience in the comments under this broadcast. Air raid alerts are still ongoing, so if possible, do not stay in open areas. Take care of yourself. And with that, I conclude this edition of TSN. To make sure you don't miss the next episodes, click the bell icon, leave comments, and like the broadcast. We'll meet again at 2 o'clock.